No, I'm not able to see. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So we'll start with an introduction, including your like a tech stack and yeah,
Sure.
including the tech stack you have worked on and yeah, like your recent project.
Sure. Thank you for asking. My name is Amarjit Kumar. I am having 7+ years of experience. Currently, I am doing Java development. So the technology which I use, like a Java with a Spring Boot microservices, a Spring Cloud component as a backend. Front end also have a good exposures in Angular 9, and the database which I use as a Mongo and Oracle. Mongo is a NoSQL, so Oracle is SQL. Coming for this AWS cloud services I use. So most of the services I use for the development and deployment for the our microservices based applications. Also have a good experience in DevOps tools which is used for the development and monitor the application like Apache, Maven, Jenkins, Jira, GitHub, ELKS, Splunk and all. So these all are the technology stack which is experience in my bucket. Coming for the domain, I have a good experience in banking, telecom, e-commerce, health insurance. So the currently which I'm working, that is based on health insurance project. So the technology with the same I used, and my role in responsibility, like this project is a portal like where we need to manage multiple insurance or third parties portals. So if a users any users want to take any type of insurance, he can take or create a orders. So once orders will be created, according to that internally we will follow multiple steps which need to be work. Once order has been created, then based on the order ID we need to check the stores. So what are the nearby stores which is available for the particular order of the particular insurance, and after that we will do the calculation of payment. Once payment will be calculated, then users has applicable for any redemptions and or promo codes and all. So if users has applied, then I'll send the notifications once the payment will success. Or if users has schedulers and all, for the premium, so we'll have a multiple schedulers that will be configured. Also users can get the notification through SMS, email, his premium related, his insurance related, or any all type of informations, he will get the some notification. So that type of batch also we need to configure. So my role and responsibility here, we are following agile. So based on the agile, whatever the sprint task will be defined, that need to be worked. So there will be some Jira ID which will be created for the particular sprint we have to work. So daily basis, like which I am working, that is developing a microservices based application by using a Spring Boot. Also we'll have some multiple API call will be there from internally or externally, so third party. So most of the API call we use REST template API call, which need to be modifications or some customizations which will be required, that we are doing. Apart from this, if we have handle multiple asynchronous communications and all, in that cases we can go for the Kafka implementations, so that also we are doing. And apart from this, while we have developed any applications, then we will go for the deployment. So multiple instance deployment will happen before the productions. So that will happen once this will go for the production deployment. In that cases, we all will be available on call, and we'll see like what type of uh, changes we are going to deploy in production, what are the configurations is correct or not, what are the logs, security validations which have put it, that we have to verify. And also once the verification has been done, then that deployment will happen. So once deployment will complete, then we need to check what are the request and response and log is coming proper or not. So that type of things we need to stay on call, and we'll see all those things. Yeah, so that's it from my side. Like these all are doing.
Okay. So we'll start with microservices. Okay, can you tell me what are the different ways of communication between two microservices?
Yeah, so two microservices will have a two type of communications. Mostly will have a asynchronous and synchronous. So REST template will provide a synchronous communication. So at a time only one request will send, and then we'll get the response. But asynchronous, we can go for any messaging or event based call. So messaging event based call will happen if any users or any microservice need to be communicate simultaneously in multiple microservices. So we will create any messaging queue like Kafka will have a cluster. So producers and consumers will be there. So producers will produce all the respective details, and according to whatever the respective microservice need to be communicate with the order microservices, they will check the detail. Instead of directly calling from order services, they will go for the cluster. They have to check what are the producers details as they have. And if you want to some operations, they can do by using consumers. they will consume the data, and once he will do the operations, they will produce the data again to the cluster, and then outer microservice will communicate with this cluster and then consume the data. So like that we have multiple ways there.
Okay. Can you tell me any real-time example of like a daily to daily example where you have asynchronous and synchronous communications?
Yeah, as I told, like in our insurance portal or in e-commerce way, like if you have a order, if you are creating any order in microservices, sorry, AWS, sorry, e-commerce based application like Amazon is there. In Amazon, multiple user is trying to order the any items. So once he will order the items, after that items need to be checked what type of slot is there, is available for delivery, which locations they have ordered, so what is the store which is registered for that, what are the payment need to be calculated, which operations need to be calculated for this redemptions, and where which customers we have notified. So once orders id will be generated, then all respective microservices will take the order according to that, based on the order category, order items numbers, and order details. Based on that, he need to perform the operations, which locations order has been created, what are the slot will be available, who will be the delivery partner to deliver the order, and once deliver the order, notifications will come. So directly, if all the respective microservices will communicate with this order microservices, so that will not be possible with synchronous communication. So in that cases, what we have to do, any type of messaging queue or any event handler we need to put to, so that we can do asynchronous communications, either which I told, like of Kafka. And
Okay. What is circuit breaker? Can you explain the framework or thing like utility we have used and what are the annotations we have used?
yeah, circuit breaker is a way, like if you have a multiple microservices which need to be communicated from one to another, and all are dependent with each other. So suppose if A microservices is communicating with B, and B has been stopped out, or maybe service has down, or some issues happen in that B microservices. So how A microservice will know, like because of this I'm not getting the response, or maybe something. So in B microservices, whatever the service implementation you are writing, in that cases we have a method. So that business logic method, we have to put either circuit breaker method also. Suppose if this method will not call, then we have to put this circuit breaker method, which will be so the customers, like please try after some time, because deployment is going, or maybe our services is stopped due to some reasons and all like that. So we'll have a multiple annotations, while if you want a circuit breaker, at the rate hysterics will be there, at the rate enable circuit breaker. So these type of annotations we have to use. And once you have added this one, then we'll have a application.yaml file there. In that configurations also we have to.
Okay. Okay. So give me a second.
Yeah.
Can you explain me how service discovery works and like any framework or dependency you have used or annotations for the same if you have used?
Yeah, so mostly I use a Spring Cloud component. So service discovery, Eureka service registry I worked. So while if any request is coming from the third party or maybe client, so that will go for the API gateway. That will be instead of direct calling of microservices, we'll have some security purpose. We need to go for the API gateway. So that API gateway will know like what type of service we need to call. So directly also we don't have any call with the API gateway to the service of microservice. So instead of that, they have to check like what type of services is coming the request from client, and where I have to go. So for that we have a Eureka service registry. So that service registry, he will communicate with that. So yeah, I'm getting this response related for payment, so which microservice will call as a payment microservice. So the Eureka service will provide a payment microservice. So that payment microservice internally will call by the Eureka registry. So service discovery will come in these pictures, like to check like what are the respective microservice need to be communicated once the client is sending any request based on that. So that will become in the pictures. Yeah. Hello. I think you are in mute.
Huh? Yeah. So can you explain me how distributed tracing and logging works in context to microservice?
Distributing and tracing the logs in microservices. Yeah. So how we will trace, like we can multiples way are there. We can configure Splunks, ELK, or maybe the CloudWatch and all if you are using AWS and all. So I used a Splunk and ELK also. Like while if you have a multiple microservices, now you want to debug or analyze the logs on the server level or maybe productions logs or any other environment. So how you will do? First of all, you have to add the dependency in all microservices. Like if you are doing Splunks or ELK, that respective dependency you have to add, and then all the configurations which is required for the YAML application, application.yaml file, that you have to add it. Once you will add this one, then suppose Splunk will provide one dashboard. So that dashboard will have all the respective microservices which will be linked. So if any issues will come, then in that cases, Splunk will provide this three way. Like we can search based on the timestamp, we can search based on the trace ID, spam ID, or also we can have a query. So if you internally, they will call inbuilt database in that. So they will fetch the based on the query. Suppose if you have a query to check the latest log or maybe based on this IDs and all, so directly you can create a query also. Or if you don't know, then you can create a based on the timestamp, latest timestamp, which microservices is hitting, what are the logs is generating. So that in that single dashboard we can check all the microservice respective logs. Yeah.
Okay, can you give me 5 minutes? I need to attend some call
Sure,
important.
sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll join 5 minutes. Almost there.
Okay. No.
Yeah, we'll start.
Sure.
Can you research your on your video?
Sure. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So I may not be able to get your answer for that. What is distributed tracing and logging? Can you re-explain?
Yeah, distributed tracing and logging, like we can configure by using Splunk or ELK. So Splunk is a features which will be provide, like you have to add the dependency. Either you can go for the ELK or Splunk. Add the dependency, then add the configuration file in application.yaml file. Once you will add this configurations details changes, then you can trace this any type of microservices log in Python console. So Splunk will provide a UI console. There we can see all the latest log based on the timestamp, based on the query you can execute. Also we have a like a trace ID. So that trace ID or spam ID, through that also we can find it. So easily we can check all the, suppose if any issues or anything will happen, then easily we can monitor the all the microservices in simultaneously based on the Splunk. So based on the trace ID, spam ID and all. So this is things.
Okay. What is the difference between @REST controller and @controller annotations?
Yeah, this is required for the controller classes. So at the rate REST controller, which is the part of controller, and at the rate request mapping. So if you used at the rate REST controller, so internally two annotations will work, the class level and method level request mapping. Class level as a controller, and but if you mention as a controller, so that will be behave like a only class as a controller. So that controller you can put it request mapping and HTTP methods and all. So this is the main features or difference in that.
Okay. How will you disable a loading of I would say class from class path in case your Spring Boot application is starting up?
Sorry, can you repeat once again? How?
How will you disable a class to load from class path in case your Spring Boot application is starting up?
Okay, so we have a like suppose exclude, based on the exclude. Suppose if you have any class at the rate spring boot application annotation is there in the main application, so there we'll have options like we can include the particular class or exclude. Suppose if you want, if you don't want any classes to behave or work, so then we have a exclude will be there. So through that exclude we can mention the class name.
Okay. How will you read a property? There is a let's say property name is defined in your source code, a property file, and
Mhm.
its value is ABC.
Yeah.
How will you read that property name in your source code?
Property name in a source code. Yeah, so property name in a source code. We'll have a property name in a source code. Yeah, we'll have a at the rate configuration or enable auto configurations file will be there. At the rate annotations will be there. Through that, all the auto whatever the respective YAML configurations detail will be there that we have to call based on the configurations annotation.
Okay. What is functional interface? Can you give me an example of interfaces which are functional?
Yeah, functional interface is a features of Java 8, so which will be provided at only one like by default we'll have a static and non default method will be there, but single abstract method will be there in the functional interface. That is called a function. We can create a custom functional interface also. So we have a annotation at the rate functional interface annotations. So in Java we'll have a multiple functional interface. By default we have like a comparable is there, clonable is there, serializable is there. So these all are the comparable interface which we used. So
Com
there,
com Clonable or serializable are marker interface or a functional
sorry,
interface?
sorry, it's a marker interface.
An example for say like a functional interface. What
Uh,
are
Comparable is there.
okay? What are any other?
Any others? Yeah, many are there. Comparable and
Runnable.
yeah, runnable also is there. Is a run method is there. That runnable also is there, which is in
Mm.
thread.
What is the difference between intermediate and terminal operations for Stream API?
Yeah, Steam API while we are processing the data, so in that cases we will use multiple intermediate and terminal operations based on the lambda expression. So like we'll have a filters, sort, map, flat maps and all is uh, terminal operations, and intermediate operations like we'll have a
Filter is a terminal.
no, filter is a intermediate operations. Map, flat map is a terminal operation.
Map is also intermediate. Does it get you result?
Just a minute. Intermediate and terminal. Intermediate will be there, and the like yeah, collector dot to list collectors is there. So that is intermediate.
Yeah. But suppose I have a class I implemented with the marker interface, serializable interface,
Mhm.
and it has four properties out of which I want to make one property not serialized. How will I do that?
Then in that cases we can go for the at the rate transient annotation, so that if you will make it at the rate transient, so that attribute and value will not be serialized. So mostly we'll do like while we are going for the database connections and all, in that multiple attributes are there, but password we can't be able to serialize, so that at the rate transient we have to put in there.
What is the difference between array list and linked list? In what case you will use array list? In what case you will use linked list?
Yeah, array list is used for this like array list and linked list. Yeah, this is used for the collection framework, which is a list interface. Inside that we have a multiple class array list, linked list, and vector. So array list is used for like is used for the insertion purpose, and linked list is used for the manipulation purpose. So if you want to delete or modify any changes in that particular list of value, then in that cases we can go for the linked list, because linked list will provide a linked list. So there will have a like a previous first node, next node, and mid of the address of node. So based on that we can do the deletions or any manipulations in that. But while you want to if you don't want this type of operations, only insertions you want to preserve and all, in that cases we can go for array list. So both are allowed for the duplicate data and all.
Okay. Is the array list a fail safe or fail fast?
Array list is Arraylist is a fail fast.
What is the alternative to use it as a failsafe?
If you want to create an alternative, then we'll have a we can go for this exact copy of array list we have to create, and in that if you want to do some
No,
operations
there is
like
already a collection is there.
yeah.
Failsafe. How? Failsafe array list. What is the name of that collection?
Okay, already fail safe array list collection.
Okay,
uh,
can you explain me the executor framework of multi-threading?
Executor framework is used suppose if you have a multiples business operations need to be performed. In that cases, we can go for the thread. So that thread will be allocated multiple instance, and simultaneously they will execute. So they will create a what we can say subtask they will create, and so executor framework will be come in these pictures, and what are the multiples operations need to be performed that we have to initialize based on that. So simultaneously they will address that, and that will be executed, I think.
Example of thread pools. Different thread pools are available. What are the different thread pools available?
Multiple thread pools are available in thread pools, like we can go for the like deadlock situations.
Have you worked on TDD?
TDD, drift driven design pattern, right? That or different?
Test-driven development.
Yeah.
Have you worked on the same?
No, no, not yet, I think.
Have you worked on unit testing?
Yeah, unit testing I worked.
Can
So
you explain the difference between @mock and @inject mock?
yeah, mock is used for, like, suppose if you have a two class, and that you want to want to auto write all the beans and all. So in the test cases, while we are writing mockito and all in the mockito framework, so that we can mock the data. Like suppose controller class need a dependency of the services class, then we have mock the services class in the controller class. And inject mock, suppose if you have some private or static methods or declarations out there in the particular class, then directly we can't do the mock, so there we have a inject mock. So based on that inject mock, all the details will come.
Yeah. So can you tell me what are the different ways of communication between two components in Angular?
In where Spring Boot.
Angular, you said na you have worked in Angular. Do you want to be explored in Angular also? Like interviewed or no?
Angular, I worked suppose if any real-time issues will come in these pictures, while we are handling the backend applications. So if anything will happen, we need to analyze the log. So either we have Angular also logs, and that backend log.
Okay, so development you didn't do for Angular.
Sorry.
Development part in Angular you are not doing.
Right
Right.
now I'm not doing Angular development part mostly.
Okay, moving to AWS, what all services of AWS you have used?
Yeah, AWS, most of the services I use like SNS, SMS, EC2 instance, Elastic Beanstalk, and Lambda or S3 bucket. Also, will have IAM users. So these things I use as
Okay.
user. Yeah,
What is port instance in the EC2? SPOT, sport instance in EC2.
a port instance in EC2.
Yes.
Okay, a port instance in EC2, right?
Yes.
Port instance in EC2.
Okay. Can you tell me what are the different ways of logging to a Linux machine or EC2 machine? One is SSH, everyone do putty, POMXTEM. What are the other ways you have used to log into an EC2 machine?
Yeah, EC2 machines we can use, I think by default is three ways. One is the SSH, which you told. Others will have by using command line argument, and also we'll have a uh, like uh, UI through that also we can.
UI through?
UI which will be communicated like connect what we can say, like one is SSH you told, other as a command line, and other is I think in AWS also will provide UI. So through that UI directly you click on this instance, and you can execute this.
Okay. What is the maximum size of an S3 bucket?
Maximum size of S3 bucket, I think while we are placing any type of data in S3, right? So that will have a maximum size of S3 10 GB. 10 GB, I think.
10 GB only.
There's no limitations, but better you can go for like this default size exact. I'm not sure.
What is the maximum time limit or time execution for a Lambda function?
Maximum time executions for the Lambda functions will, I think that makes execution time is in millisecond only. In millisecond only that will be fetch the details based on the Lambda function.
No, if it doesn't fetch, what is the maximum limit defined so that if it crosses that maximum limit,
Mm-hmm.
your Lambda function crash.
Oh, okay. The threshold and all.
Yeah.
Threshold limit. I'll check. I'm not sure right now.
Okay. What are the different type of load balancer available in AWS?
Load balancers, if you want to any type of load balancers like that is available in AWS console, there ribbons based, and also will have AWS will have inbuilt load balancers also that we can do.
Okay. What is the maximum payload for a SNS message? You worked on SNS. What is the maximum payload for SNS message?
Maximum payload 512 MB.
Okay. What is the difference between direct and fan out messaging models in SNS?
Direct and
Fan out.
direct and fan out. I seen this fan outs and all.
Okay. No issue. Can you share your screen and write last thing one program before we end?
Okay, sure.
You can share any ID, any notepad, whatever you are comfortable. I need to see the logic.
Mhm. Okay, sure. Just a minute. Yeah, it's fine now. You're able to see.
I am able to see your face only till now. Maybe you have shared only one thing.
Okay.
Now it's, I think, something loading.
Yeah.
Screen is loading, but it's fully black. Can you reload or reshare?
Already I said again it's stopping. No, it's fine.
Yeah. So I'm sending an input output in the chat. Can
Mhm.
first check the chat.
Okay. Mm.
Open the chat and see what I'm expecting from input and output.
Okay.
So basically, string S is like a given, and output is like frequency of the characters in that string, like B is occurred two times, A is occurred one time, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Directly we can go for this requirement. We'll have a hash map. So based on that hash map, we will call this data
okay,
based on key
write
and
some
value.
logic, which you think. Not maybe not exact compilable, but write logic.
Like that also we can put, we have a multiple space. First we have to place this file in the map, create a hash map based on the string and integer, key and value. Hello.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And we'll iterate this length, and we will put it in this length in hash map. So the output will have a, like, based on key and value, that will be.
But how the B will be 2 and A will be 1? But I no need to show that logic. How will you
Okay,
make
okay, yeah,
B to be 2 and 1 to A to be 1?
for that we have a, like, iteration, we have to iterate this. So Great.
Okay, leave it. I think I am done from my side. If you have anything, let me know. Else I will share the feedback. The team will come back to you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Next time. Bye.